Hello, everyone. So, today we're going to be talking about feeling safe in love. Now, this is talking about divine love, but I'm going to compare it to human love. So, first of all, I want to take you on a little journey here. So, I want you to just become aware of the love that exists because it's really all that exists. Now, you might be having a hard time with something. And you might think, well, no, that's definitely not all that exists in my world. And you would be right. But what I'm going to tell you is that it is all that exists, and it is only our mind. It is only our mind that blocks it from coming to us, that stops the flow of it in our lives. Sorry, I feel like I got a frog in my throat. It's all this tea I've been drinking. Okay, so feeling safe in love. So first of all, I want you to think about that feeling of feeling safe. So have you ever felt safe in love with a human before? Had that feeling of safety, of knowing you could be yourself. There wasn't any, stress involved in it, that you felt comforted, that you felt completely accepted. And when you were maybe around that person, you felt really safe. You felt cared for, nurtured, protected, all of the above. Now, if you have, that's wonderful, and that's wonderful. Now, if you haven't, I want you to know that it is possible. So if you haven't had that experience, it's possible. Just want to throw that out there. But here's the thing of it. Here's the part where we begin to compare. So let's say that you haven't had such a good experience, or maybe you thought that you had that, but you really didn't. And then you came to find out you really didn't have that. And so it began to cause a lot of damage within you. This damage can present in so many ways, and sometimes people will stay in relationships where they're not feeling safe, where they're not being valued or even appreciated for years and 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 years, because it's comfortable and it's what people know. But it doesn't mean that it's good. So this is kind of like the Christian dogma. So the Christian God, if you believed in the Christian God, that God, well, first of all, the Bible says, God is never changing. God doesn't ever change. He's constant, and this and that, and all of these things. So it's then safe to assume that the God of the Old Testament is the same one of the New Testament. Correct, right? If God doesn't change, then he's the same dude. And here's the problem with this. That God, back in the Old Testament, allegedly would smite his enemies, which is just, hilarious, because those enemies, of these people over here, are actually God's children. He made them. So that would be like you having kids and be like, yeah, no, I like these ones and I don't like these ones. So I'm going to kill these ones over here, and I'm going to help my kids kill these ones over here. Like, come on, like, ludicrous. So Jesus shows up on the scene, and he's like, dudes, have you guys noticed that all the people you hate, your God, allegedly hates too? And there's, all these sacrifices. You have to murder something to atone for your own sin. You have to spill blood. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you know anything about Satanism, but they do a lot of blood work. So why are we worshiping a God that demanded blood? That demanded blood for sinning. think about, if that Christian God is your God, think about what kind of God you're serving. And then you could compare that to what's going on in the world. And if you're believing in this, which many, 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 many people are, think about the destruction of believing in a God like that wants blood and vengeance and wants to smite his enemies and punish them. And even the threat of punishment of hell. Because what is punishment but evil doing under the guise of goodness? Right? You're doing something evil, but you're saying, oh, I'm doing this evil thing, but it's for good. Right? Sounds like a person would make up. And then if you didn't think about it too much, you'd just, illogically accept it. So when I have gone on, I don't even know how many now, these, private spiritual journeys by myself, I have experienced, this is how I can heal clients, people when they come to me, is through this knowledge. I have experienced the love of the Father fully flowing through my body, to the extent that it cleared away any doubt that I had previously had. And so I now know that if I speak something with conviction and with total belief and faith, it happens. Sometimes instantly, often, and sometimes it takes a few hours or however many days I wanted it to take. But it's happening because of my belief, because of my faith with no doubt in it. So let me tell you about it. This love, which it can't even truly be compared to human love at this point. I do believe that is coming to our planet, and it could be coming within the next couple of years, 2026. Did I tell you guys about those forward progressions that I did with my clients? So if I didn't, I'm going to tell you right now. So this was starting in 2020. I was just super curious because, right, the 2020 is happening, and I want to know what's going on because I was living in Canada, and I don't know where you're living, but the people were extremely divided, right? If you didn't get the, shot, you weren't allowed to go to movie theaters. You weren't allowed to go to restaurants. You weren't allowed to go and do any of the things, show me the papers. So there was this huge divide that was going on. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, what is going on, right? Because when we were in it, it felt like it was going to last forever. So I worked with 6 separate clients and asked them if they were cool with it, if at the end of their session we just did a little forward progression and did a worldview, and they were cool with it. So I did it for the year 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We were only going 6 years forward. 6 years forward. There was zero guidance from me as to what I was looking for, other than I wanted them to step back and just tell me what the world view was like in each of these years. Which, it's been a while now, but I remember saying, about a year later, people weren't going to be quite as divided. Like they were going to start to, come together again. Then the year after that, it was like, oh, it's not even a thing. It's not even really a thing anymore. That's a long thing of the past, and life is, pretty normal. Things are good. Then we get to 2024, 25. And as not to speak and create anything more, because I know I need to shift my focus, because what we're creating, we're speaking, like we're literally creating it through our consciousness. But there was something that occurred over these 2 years, which is already happening in some places in the world. But it was a big, let's say, reset, but it was extreme. And end of 2025 was kind of cleaning up after this. And then 2026 was peace, unlike we had ever known. Unlike we had ever known before. There was a shift. There was a shift that had happened. So this just reminds me of we're creating an era of love and peace, and it's our every loving thought. It's our every loving thought that creates this era of love and peace. Okay, so back to love. Okay, so wherever you're at right now, I want you to become aware of your surroundings. Now, whether you believe this or not, it doesn't matter. This is true. That what you're actually seeing is just the shimmer of motes. It is tiny vibrating particles, energetic particles. If you were to take a microscope and you were to zoom in really, really close, you could see that there's these little tiny particles that compose everything. And this is what all this stuff is made of that you're witnessing. Now, all of these things that you see is your mind's interpretation of what you believe to be there and what you believe to be in your environment, what you believe to be in your world. And all these beliefs are being reflected back to you. There's nothing that is actually solid. I know that this might be hard to understand, but it's the truth. And this is how Jesus could create something out of seemingly nothing. Because he knew that what you're witnessing, what you're seeing in that room around you right now is mind power made visible. So he used this to create miracles, to heal people, to do all the things. But what was really occurring during this was he was making the love visible. He was making the love visible. So we've talked about this before, but if you get a cut on your arm, right, you don't need to think about it. You don't need to do anything about it. It is going to scab over. There's going to be new cells that come. They're going to work really hard. They're going to get rid of that scab, and they're going to produce new skin in that place where you got the cut. All miraculously done. Like, this is a miracle, but we're used to it, right? We see it all the time, so we don't even think anything of it. All miraculously done without any help from you. Now, the only thing that gets in the way of this perfect love work that is continually being done, is your mind. It is your mind. So your mind, if you had a cut on your arm and then all of a sudden you start stewing and worrying and bothering with it and being all concerned about it, you've now stepped in the way of the divine's perfect love work. It was going to go off without a hitch. You were going to heal just perfectly, but then you stepped in with your mind and you could create problems for yourself purely through your mind. So this love, going back to this love, feeling safe in love, this love that I experienced that got rid of all of my doubt. So I am very understanding. If you were listening to this and you doubt some of the things that I'm saying, I 100% get it, because until I had that experience and I actually felt the universal love flowing through my body, I could speak things, and I could speak things with conviction and create them. But it was not, it was my belief. It was a different belief. I wasn't doing it based on the fact that, oh, God loved me so much that this was the fact. No, it was based on, I was told that if you prayed and if you asked and you believed, then it would happen. And so I pray, I ask, I believe, and then it would happen. This was a manifestation of my belief. that I was witnessing, just my belief. So when people pray to Jesus and they're like, oh, Jesus, save me from this and the thing or whatever, if they really believe in Jesus and they really believe that Jesus is going to protect them, then they will be protected. But it is not Jesus that has stepped in. No, it is their own belief. And Jesus came to teach about this belief. Have faith, he said. So back to the love. So if you go back to your room, look at the room that's around you. Everything that is in this room, kind of is miraculous, isn't it? So all of these products, all of these things that you are seeing were created from our earth. Kind of amazing, right? When you look around and you see, maybe paintings or maybe different fabrics or, this kind of things. All of these things came from the earth. We are so abundantly provided for, and we don't even realize it. We don't even take the time to look around and be like, yeah, that is pretty miraculous. Okay, the springs and the couch that I'm sitting on, those were made by somebody over here from the earth. The filling for the couch or the bed or the whatever you're on, that was made by somebody else here from the earth. The material that covers whatever it happens to be, all of these things in themselves are miraculous. And I would have you look even farther, that many of these things, most, I would say all of these things, whoever created them, whoever first had this idea in their mind, which came from the universal mind, and then created this thing into actual fruition, made it actually appear, these things that they created were out of love, right? So if let's say you're a couch maker and you're really passionate about making couches, well, what are you doing? You're doing something that you love. When you design it, when you pick the material, when you create it, you are doing it out of love. And you can tell the items that you buy that were made with love and the ones that were not, right? The ones that were not, they might be cheap, they might fall apart, they're not going to last very long. They were made by some factory somewhere, and these people probably aren't getting treated properly or paid good enough and all of the things. And so the items that you receive, they don't last very long because the energetic input in them is weak. Whereas those items that you have that are quality, that there was truly love put into them, you can tell the difference. Some people will hear my prices for my sessions and think that they're expensive, which is laughable to me because it's really not. It might be to somebody, but if you consider the amount of money people spend on therapy in a year, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and I'm a fifth of that amount. But here's the deal. What you get out of it, this is an energy exchange, and what you get out of it is so much quality. So you could pay someone $100 every week for a year, and just because you keep giving and giving and giving and giving to it doesn't mean that it's going to be quality, doesn't mean that it's going to help you, doesn't mean that it's going to anything. Just like those relationships that you give to for years and years and years and years and years until you're completely depleted and you can't do it for another second and you got to get the heck out of there. Or you can look for the love that is in the things around you. Okay, I got sidetracked there. Anyways, we're going back to the couch. We're going back to these items. Okay, so I want you to look around your room and I want you to think about what you have in your room. Now, everything that was in here, these things are made of love. Why? Because somebody was passionate about making this, and so they thought, ooh, this will be super cool. Ooh, I want to make this cool home decor. Ooh, I want to make this beautiful thing. So they made it, and you bought it. So essentially you purchased love, as long as this was some nice quality item. Now, if you can look around your house and you can see, okay, I'm actually sitting in a room of love, okay? Like even the paint on my walls, somebody created that exact color. They were mixing paints and they came up with it and they're like, oh, perfect. Somebody's gonna love this color. And it was created. And oh, you loved it, you bought it, you put it on your walls. When you shift your thinking and you realize that essentially everything that we're doing, is love, if that's how you act, then it can really begin to change your world. Just acknowledging it and just becoming aware that everything really is love. So the air that's pressing up against you, this is love, right? If it didn't exist, you wouldn't exist. You'd be dead. Well, you need it to live. Not only do you not see it, you can't even see it, but you can see the effects of it, right? If it's windy out, you can see the leaves moving in the trees. You know that this invisible wind, this invisible air is blowing. But you don't usually think about it very much. So this love that is pressing up against your body, just think about it. Breathe in for a second. Breathe in. And I want you to imagine you're just breathing in love. Your life is sustained right now. Breathe in the love. You can do it all day long. You don't even have to think about it. Your life is sustained through this invisible love that you don't even consider, but yet it occurs constantly all day long. If it didn't exist, you wouldn't exist. Now, when I'm working with clients and let's say we're working on a physical issue, what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to show them how it is that they have created this in their own body. We're going to go through the process so that they can become aware, oh, this is what I did to cause this. Because if they don't know, if we don't have awareness, then we can't change anything, right? So they will become aware, okay, this is here because, maybe I don't feel very good about myself. I'm having confidence issues. I'm really frustrated. I'm really angry with people. Whatever it is, there's insecurities. There's some type of fear. There's some kind of something. And those negative vibrations, those negative thoughts, those are vibrations, those negative emotions attached to that, and those negative actions that are attached to the thoughts and the emotions, all of these things are creators. They're the creation. So if you were sitting there and you are believing something, so if you're running something off the past, let's say that you've had terrible, terrible partners in the past that were not good to you, that did not treat you good, and you just only had goodness that you were giving towards them, but it wasn't returned. Well, what is going to happen is you're going to start to feel, more than likely, not everybody, bad about yourself. It's going to bring up insecurities. It's going to bring up all kinds of negative and hurtful things within yourself. Okay, now finally you get the balls to break up with this person. You end it. You're done. Okay, well, just because it's done doesn't mean that it's done in your mind, right? We know how these things work. So, but what has carried forward now? Now you have to look at what's carried forward now. Okay, so are you going to then, in your next relationship, keep giving all the goodness that you have to give, or are you not? You're going to be afraid. and you're going to completely shift and change your attitude. You might even become a completely different person who you're not even, as a means to protect yourself or whatever it happens to be. Now, why is this a problem? Because if the fact that you were just putting out so much goodness towards a person and it was not reciprocated, I want you to know this. When you put out the good and it's not reciprocated, and now this relationship is over, this is your biggest gift, because you weren't going to get it ever from that person. So it had to end so that you could get your karma returned back to you from someone who's going to give equally like you had been giving. But that can't come to you until the old is gone. But if now the old is gone, and so now you got your walls up and you're totally in defense mode and you're not being yourself and you're, wearing a mask and you're doing all these things, well, what's happening now you're putting that out, and it's going to cause you problems. It's going to push away the things that were meant for you. It's going to, all of this good karma that was supposed to come back to you, you've now blocked it because you're afraid, because you don't believe, because you believe more in evil than you do in the love of the Father. And I understand that, because unless you've had it flowing through your freaking veins and in your body, it can be easy to forget that it exists. Or maybe you're not a spiritual person in the first place, and so it hadn't really been part of your life. But if you had been putting good out, so if this was the case for you, let's say you had a relationship and you were putting the good out, it will be returned back to you, but it is all based on your belief. So if you believe that that good is going to be returned back to you, it certainly will. Through electromagnetism, what you have put out, you are going to get it back. How would you block this? If you have a belief that it's never going to come for you, or that that's not how it works, that is your belief, and that is what you are putting out, and that is what will be returned back to you. All that we are witnessing in this room that you see around you here is belief. It is belief. What you think is truly there. It is all belief. Now you can go over and you can go touch this thing and you'll be like, I think it's here. It's here. I'm touching it. The thing is here. I am telling you. It is vibrating particles. So it can be changed. I watched this movie with a friend at the university. It was interesting, to say the least. Anyways, this woman doesn't really know this guy, but happens to have a key to his house. So she starts going in to his house. It is so uncomfortable watching this. Like, it's intense watching this show. This movie, I think it's like made in Korea or something like that. Anyways, but what this girl does is she goes in and every day she starts to kind of clean his house. Like, she just starts dusting. One day, okay, so she's dusting this. Okay, well, then the next day she sneaks in and, she's cleaning the floors. The next day she comes in, she cleans his fish tank. Well, the next day she comes in, she brings another fish. Like, and keeps coming. I can't remember, like, if it's weeks or a month or however long. But each day she's going in and she's doing just a little bit of something. And he comes home and he'll kind of stop for a second and like look around and be like, huh. But because it's so subtle, he thinks it's him. He didn't know. He didn't know that he's not doing it because it's so little. And the fish, and he'll look at it like, huh, okay, weird. Have you ever had that when you had some kind of something happen and you just thought this is the strangest thing and you're questioning? That was him every time that he came home. And my example of that is to tell you that when you begin to change your thinking, when you begin to change your beliefs, it actually changes the things around you, right? And if you really love something, you really care for it, and you can tell, right? If you really love something, you really care for it. Let's say you've got a new vehicle or a new boat or a new something. If you love it, it's going to stay in good condition for years and years and years and years. Why? Because you are going to take the time to care for it, to clean it, to make sure that it has what it needs. You're going to put time and effort into this thing to keep it happy and running properly, right? This is what love does. When we love something, we care for it. So I want you to know that the Father loves you and cares for you perfectly. And it has only been your own mind, your own thinking and overthinking that has brought negativity and hardships into your life. Now, we do all come into this life with karma that needs to be resolved from previous incarnations. And so if something happened in your younger years or this or that, I'm not saying that this is something that you did in this lifetime, that this is your fault, but this is something that you wanted to learn from and grow from. And possibly if it was something quite harsh, it was some karma that was then being returned to you. Who knows what type of person you were in another life. You could find out. I got a past life video on that Mental Cleanse series. But these things, sorry, I just lost my train of thought here for a second, so I'll just say something like these things. But our life now, if you're past the age of 30, even 28, your karma, you came here to resolve your karma. You came here to learn and to grow. But what you really came here to do was to get back in touch with the Divine Father, was to let go of everything that isn't that so that you could experience that. If you could let go of all the revenge and the anger and the hatred and the fear and the insecurities that you have inside of your heart and your mind, you would be in alignment with the Father, and you would see visible changes in your world, and things really would change. So feeling safe in love is so important, right? If you don't feel safe, you're going to be able to fall asleep next to somebody who you don't feel safe next to. Not a freaking chance. It's not good for you if you're not feeling safe. But I want you to know that the Father is all safety, and that you can trust the Father has your best interest at heart every single second, and that what the Father actually is doing is just emanating love constantly to you, and it is only our own minds that block it. What we believe in, we manifest. What we believe in, we create. So if you want to feel safe in this love, I would suggest that you study the Christ letters. They are the truth. You will hear the truth. And it's going to talk about that you reap as you sow. If you are putting out this type of attitude towards somebody, towards something, through karma, you're going to get it back. Do you want that? But if you put out some loving attitude and that's what you're putting out, you're going to get it back. Is that what you want back? That's what I want back. Now, if you were putting out love and you were putting out love and you were putting out love and you had this really long relationship and you were just so wonderful with this person was awful to you, I want you to know you're going to get your karma back. It is going to come back around, but if you do not believe it, or if you are blocking your blessings through fear, you won't experience it. Because it's all belief. It's 100% only visible belief. That's what you're experiencing in your life. And your beliefs, the things that you think about, those create emotions within you, and those emotions, people can be led by their emotions and they can do all kinds of things, taking actions. When you have a thought and you have a feeling attached to it, or even when you just have the thought, sometimes you will take actions. Is your action a loving action? If it's not, it's probably not in alignment with the divine. It's not. If it's not loving, it's not in alignment. And so what comes from that is not going to be the highest good that you could get. And don't you want that for yourself? You know, I met somebody yesterday at this chamber event. Always lovely to go to those. And we were talking, and they said, well, I've had this failure, in the past. And so then people are talking about, having fear of failure or whatever. And it's like, yes, but it wasn't a failure, right? Because you learned from it. And now that you're creating something new, you would have never created this new thing that you were so passionate about and that you love so much had that other thing not panned out. All of these things are blessings, but if we take these things that didn't work out and we look at them as, I failed. I'm a failure. I can't make anything happen. Well, you could believe that if you want to, or you can look at it as, I didn't fail. There was something I needed to learn from that so that I could do this next thing, or be with this next person, or have this whatever thing. And I couldn't have had it had I still had that old thing around. It's a blessing. If you believe in your life that it just gets better and better and better and better, then it will. So believe in that. But if you believe that it doesn't, and that the older that you get, your life is passing you by and all the things and whatever, all the people always say, then that's what you'll experience. It's all your belief. So I believe, as long as there's nothing tragic that happens, I'm going to live forever, man. I'm living forever. I want to be here. I love it here. I'll live till, 106. That might be the average by the time I get up there. I don't know. We'll see. See what I decide. But I believe that it just gets better and better and better and better, and that we're truly creating heaven on earth, and that it's our every loving thought that creates it. This process, this unfolding that is happening, what's going to happen over the next couple of months, and over the next couple of years, this destruction of the systems that are currently in place is necessary. Oh, it's needed. We need it. It's necessary so that we can create this fresh beginning, and have this beginning operating under the laws of the universe, that you reap as you sow, cause and effect, knowing that our thoughts are electromagnetic and that they really do create. They really do create in our world. There's nothing around you that didn't begin from man's mind, except for the world if you're outside, right? There's nothing that you're seeing in your house that was not created by man's mind. All of it. So it begins in man's mind and it ends up being visible. But I'm telling you, people who are sitting there and they're sewing the fabric of the couch, these things, yes, they're creating them and they're doing them, but if it was needed that you needed this couch right now immediately, you could create one through belief with no doubt. And as I said before, I understand that it's very difficult to believe in this if you have not experienced the love of the Father flowing through your body. And so therefore, again, I would tell you, study the Christ letters. They are on YouTube here. They're on YouTube. It's free. You can just listen to it. Just have it playing while you're doing the stuff that you're doing. Just let it imbue your consciousness, because it is going to improve your life. It is going to improve the world around you. We are creating the kingdom of heaven here on earth. We're creating it here on earth, and it's our every loving thought, coupled with the actions that we then take, that creates this. So I love you all. Hope you feel safe and loved listening to this podcast. Y'all are wonderful. I got to go to work here. Got a client right away, so I got to go. But I thought I would record this for you and get it rendering before I even leave my house. So I love you guys. Thanks for listening. If you know someone who could listen to this, please like it, share it with a friend. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You know, unfortunately, I don't know anybody. I can't see who watches my stuff on here. So if you do, and you want to introduce yourself, just drop a hi in the comments or tell me where you're from. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. Many blessings to you. I'm actually just going to speak a little channeled blessing over you here real quick. Abundance, financial abundance rains down on your life. You are provided for. All you will ever need can be provided for you easily and effortlessly if you only believe in it. Believe in the love of the Father more than you believe in the evil of the world, and you will be set free. That's it. All right. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one.